let's go on to some fucking fun business now. If anybody has any questions, we can join in. But I thought it'd be really cool to have a look at some Ali G. The reason being is because he's a cultural phenomenon. Everybody knows Borat. His new series, Who Is America, is amazing by Sacha Baron Cohen. But let's just get who is Ali G? What is Ali G? He is the cultural. He's a satire personality of cultural appropriation from like black culture in America. Black culture, I mean, it's sold to them, and they themselves, like many white people, like Ali G, take it on board, and it's really how the culture industry works. So we think it's fucking really cool to just look at some Ali G, have a laugh to get us started, and also talk about, what kind of image is Ali G projecting towards a stereotype of the Lumpen proletariat, the chronically unemployed people, the drug dealers. That's essentially what he represents. But I think it would be sick to have a Marxist analysis on it. So without further ado, let's get into Ali G and religion before we get forward for the rest of the show. Um, if you've never seen Ali G, you've got a fucking treat in your hand.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself, because I is here with four people who has all thought about something called religion. How powerful is God?
I think there is a power. I think most people at one point or another experience that power. They draw upon something that seems larger than themselves.
Can God do better stuff than David Blaine's?
You're asking God to make square circles, which are impossible. God can't do impossible things. That's not a limitation on God.
There have always been magicians, and there always will be, and some of them claim to be really producing magic.
So ain't God just like an overhyped David Blaine's?
To automatically see the cultural references coming in and to show the ignorance, like, is God more powerful than David Blaine? Because obviously it's dead old. David Blaine was a popular fucking magician back in the day, and it's just like, this is the thing when it comes down to like being a meme in real life. Back in the day, imagine David Blaine with all his stunts that he'd done. Imagine the memes that you'd see on Reddit, like David Blaine in a cage, and then people would be coming up with the sickest, funniest memes ever. And then this cultural appropriation that comes down to people, who are uneducated pros like Ali G with poor education. Their education comes from things like culture and society and the media, the television, and just what's popular and pop culture. So for Ali G to compare God to David Blaine is funny, because we ourselves know that the concept of a God is insane, but people are still blown away by the fact that like David Blaine can do magic. It's kind of like a joke, and to actually ask people who have devoted their entire lives for religion, is David Blaine more powerful than God? Whilst he's got that accent, just really, it's insulting all lumpen pros, but at the same time it's so funny because it's so true that people can be this dumb.
No,
one thing though, I can't see
a lot
the
of people
screen.
would find that suggestion very offensive.
Yo, sorry.
If God has got all these amazing powers, why don't he flex it every day? Like if you has got it flaunted. I mean, mate Dave, he's got a 9-incher. He gets it out all the time. God should be showing his powers. Well, let's talk about this man, the main man, the McDaddy of the Christian thing. What was his name again?
Jesus Christ.
Why did Jesus go around with all them reindeers?
I'm not sure I've seen the same image as you've seen. I think you're confusing him with Santa Claus.
So does Jesus really exist, or is it just your father
Yes.
dressed up?
Yes, Jesus exists as the second person of what we believe to be the triune God.
Is it true that he was born in a stable?
It's possible. He was born in those kind of simple circumstances. No room in the inn, that sort of thing.
There was no room in the... Well,
Yeah.
Well, that's because it was Christmas, isn't it? Let's talk about marriage. Would you ever marry a Jewish girl?
I've chosen.
All of these guests truly believe he's that dumb, and what does that say about society? I mean, we see the same thing within Marxists today. Hello, if you're out there about the lumpen pole are just this dumb, and then everybody else is so much smarter than us. You know, these academics Marxists, these, what they call them, aristocrats. You know, that's how they look down on many of the lumpen poles. Would you agree with that, Stone?
Yeah, spot on. Like, what's it? Fucking. Uh, I will say one thing though is that I'm having to watch the video through the live stream itself right now because you've not got the screen share on. What's it? It's because we moved channel, so it turned off when we moved channel.
Oh, okay, snap-a-doodle-doo. I'll set it up with my PC. You'll probably die. I'll play this because I'm just running Lumpen later.
Not to marry.
I can
I've
just fucking
chosen
watch it.
Just to
What's it?
play around.
Celibate life.
So how many months has you been celibate?
52 years next
So
summer.
you ain't done it for 50.
That's right. That's right. And I can tell you, there's more to life than sex.
Oh, looks like I'm taking
With
over.
you as a gesture
Fuck.
of bringing us together, marry her.
There are other ways of bringing us together than marriage.
What if she was a bit
We
fitter?
all live
Would you
in
consider
love
marrying her
submarine.
then?
She'll be
I
bloody
am
green.
considering
Yeah, submarine.
Marriage,
Born up
not at all.
gallant.
But people out there, they see
like the
people
bourgeois
as meant to be
dead.
religious
Yeah.
behaving in an unreligious way. Ain't it hypocritical that so many nuns also work part-time as
I got a
strippers?
brand new shiny
Well,
head
I don't
to the
think you
parrot.
can
Kinky
demonstrate
feeling.
that statistically.
Yo,
That's
what-
an absurd statement that you've just made.
No, it ain't. I's been at my mate Ricky C's 21st, and there was this nun that came in, and like,
this one.
like 10
So-
minutes later, she had her bubble-ons out with
So
whipping
you just
shaving
said,
cream off his
but you
butt.
just said
Okay,
so
lad.
many nuns work as strippers, and then you say this one.
Well,
She could have
said
been.
her name was Sister Fister.
But see,
Was that part of her act, or was
that-
that really who she was?
I would really prefer that you move off this topic.
I would say
because
that, like, with
find
the
it
Ali G episode in this regards, like, it sort of very generalizes his perspective on the whole of how he very envisions those horrible situations that I feel like a lot of us, as much as we might not be so quick to admit it, have all been in within the lumpen where you end up having this like really reactionary position that doesn't actually mean too much to you, and then you end up in a position where you have to actually think about it, and you don't think about it all too well, and you make some very, very, very horrible decisions, or you even just make questions that you think are respectful, and they ain't.
Wow, that's the thing about being politically ignorant whilst being a reactionary. Is you can say things that are totally reactionary, totally racist, totally absurd, and fascist without ever knowing that they are, because that's just a part of culture. You know, to tie that on, what we also saw was Ali G just casually talking about this, you know, strip and nun. What we're talking about here is the commodification of the female body and the exploitation through capitalism, and the sexualization of women, so that like they had to dress up as a nun. It's so deep in cultural analysis and critiques, because he is smart. He is critiquing all of this whilst not just making comedy. But if you ever listen to Sacha Baron Cohen's speeches, it's very pro-human. It's quite anti-capitalist indeed. But he's just obviously not ever read Marx.
Yeah, like if he's taking a position, he's taking one of those weird like third wheel positions, and it's like, um, it's one of those things where I would also like to add that whilst we're on the page of understanding that ignorance isn't actually a slanderous term, but what has happened is we're so used to the word ignorance being used as a term of slander from the labor aristocratic liberal class. They always slander us lot in the bottom of society as just ignorant pigs. No, we're not looking at things like that. When we mean ignorance, we're meaning it in the greatest and grandest of respects, to the ignorance that is not our choice, but ignorance that we have been born with because we are so limited in our perspective. Like the difference between us and them is that we are born to have to be with a certain percent ignorance because we can only see so much for our organic intellectuality and how we build ourselves up, whilst they are built with ignorance that they choose as they are taught everything. They are taught to think like big brain intellectuals. They can search for
Sing.
and everything. Trust me, like they can fucking do. They fucking can see everything, yet they choose not to.
You're fucking onto it, switched on, mate. We're gonna bring a lot more out of this from Ali G. But yeah, well said indeed. Especially like it just shows the importance of education and supporting the lumpen proletariat, because we are literally grown up to be, you know, racist, fascist, nationalist. So to alienate somebody for that position is to reinforce their own position, because you look cringe. And again, as the comrade mentioned, was we should be trying to be organic intellectuals and educate one another. Also, by the way, if there's anybody on our Discord server who is a Lumpen Patreon supporter, by all means, you can fucking obviously hop in the fucking chat and join us. I mean, you're a fucking true fucking comrades. I'll send a fucking link in the Discord now, and then we'll fucking crack on. Because obviously we love a fucking Lumpen Proles is what we're talking about here. Let's go.
It's not documented by any kind of evidence.
We've got a video.
Hearsay. It's hearsay.
Got a video of it. Yo, so we just want to say big up all yourselves, respect. This has been well interesting. It's been deep. It's been everything. There's been times when it's been boring.
Imagine that at the end of every podcast.
Listen up.
It was being deep, interesting. We learned a lot. It was also boring. I'm gonna definitely say that at some point. We'll just get through about like 15 minutes of this, and then we'll crack on with the rest of the news and that. Feminism now.
She be well important feminist and has like written enough books about that kind of stuff. Do you think that women should have equal rights in the workplace?
Yeah, do you?
Well, ain't there the problem that if they start getting
Can I
them
just
dead,
say
then
one
they're
thing?
going to start
Like-
asking for them at home?
Yeah, and what's wrong with that?
Yeah,
Ali
one
G,
sec,
the way
one
he
sec.
speaks-
Research has shown, this is my favorite statistic in
Go.
misconception.
So Ali G, the way he speaks and all that, like he fucking that like, you know, when things and brother like, you know,
It's like Rastafarian,
people
innit?
actually do speak like that here, like just in case of those people that aren't in the UK, like it raw happens.
Aye. Like, he's fucking fully Jamaican and that.
Like I mean, I hate to fucking admit, but it's one of the biggest problems amongst here because I get plagued with speaking with a lot of Jamaican terminology and all that. And I mean, I've been out in the sticks with a lot of Jamaican comrades. Like they fucking the culture has become quite entwined with lumpen culture because of the lumpen proletariat of Britain has a lot of respect for both the African American movement and the Jamaican freedom movement, and people don't actually respect that respect that's given from the lumpen proletariat of Britain. So.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the appropriation of revolutionary culture, Bob Marley, for large extent, was a part of that. So I think that's where, you know, the Jamaican culture really hit home for so many people because he was so popular. And it's so funny, and we're talking about the appropriation of this culture that Ali G himself is using with his fake Jamaican accent. But obviously, as you said, Stone, and is right, we'll say like Wagwan, you know, we'll say this thing, you know, we'll say like all this slang that's used in Jamaica, because it's an English, it was a former English colony, isn't it? So we've also had them cultural
Slang actually
ties.
comes from English. So wagwan,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, is what is going on. But it's actually not just like that. It's a bit more. It's a respectful way of saying what's going on to someone. Like it's like you're calling out to them that you're chill, respectful. We you know, you like, and that's not even the full tinge to it. That's just what I've understood from whatever I've been told me from Jamaican people. They could be wrong for all I know, and another Jamaican person could prove them wrong, and it's even cooler than that. I don't bloody know. But one thing I will say is that, like Jamaica, I'd argue Jamaican culture is more important to lumpen people here than African American culture is, even beyond the white-black stereotypes that exist, because normally it is and like that. But my mate has become more and more interested in communistic thought because he noticed that all of the Jamaican artists that he loves, because of the way they speak about the world and how it needs to change, they're all communists. So he's like, fuck, oh, maybe these
One
people
love. One heart, let's get together and feel alright. Come on in the chat. One love. Okay, yeah, but it's true though, isn't it? That like this is our culture, this is what we brought up, and not only that, we do not have a say in what culture and what ideas are forced upon us. That's the means of production and coming at us in order to benefit the ruling class ideology and cultural hegemony overall. So I think that's why it's so important that I think that Marxists should look at Ali G. And in fact, I'll upload this to YouTube because there's so many Ali G reactions and things, but none of them are like Marxist whatsoever, so it'll fucking blow minds, the shit that we're saying. Am I right?
Right on there, and I would also add on that like it comes into the way that lumpen culture doesn't fit in with the standards for whiteness within the middle class ideology. But
So let's crack on.
Most erotic thing a man can do for a woman is the dishes.
Like, I know that this is about feminism, but I'm so attracted to it.
Housework.
Is do the dishes.
Well, after she's had a
I
child.
thought it was the figure of
the
eight.
thing about strong women.
The figure of eight when you.
Well, that's good before, yeah.
That sense of humour though, just somebody you can have a laugh with in that, yeah, boss.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. That's good.
Actually got Sacha Baron Cohen to break his character in this interview if you pay close enough attention.
Alright then, no offence, but if you were so equal, how come even the things that you claim that you is better at men, at like cooking, you know, you ain't?
Well, who says women are better at cooking?
All the best chefs in the world is like men, like, you know, Colonel Sanders, man or woman, Ronald McDonald. Them is like a million times better than Wendy.
Just smiling at him like.
I mean, I guess I have to say I never claimed that women are better cooks than men. You're right. The great chefs.
This is what like the more actual like radical feminists were like they not that like they would just they don't let shit fly, but they know how to deal with people. They know that like if they're dealing with someone like this, he's not being like this because he's just a cunt. Like he's being like this because he doesn't know. Like it's ignorance. And she like I hope they didn't script her, because if they didn't script her and they actually just went and did what he does sometimes, because basically the thing with Sacha Baron Cohen and stuff, it's normally half scripted. A lot of this stuff he'll land on people in public and do things with them. The Donald Trump one wasn't scripted, if I remember rightly. You know, I hope that wasn't, because the way that she fucking played, but that was absolutely brilliant, because she basically sort of like jested at his jokes in a way that wasn't actually like quite laughing at him, and more laughing at the absurd things he was saying.
Yeah.
Back round into explaining things politely. Like she didn't treat him like he was being a dickhead or is a dickhead.
And that's the thing. So many academic Marxists, they'll treat you, they'll treat myself and other lumpen poles like dickheads for not understanding, when we have a deeper understanding of why we don't understand. I think that's what they should try and understand.
Do you reckon now that women has got more job opportunities than men?
No, I do not.
Because, you know, you've got all the lap dancers, all the woman in the rap videos, whatever, strippers, you know.
A lot of countries in Eastern Europe are collapsing, and women like me, you know, have...
Like, for what I can remember, I'm sure that what she says he is, like, proper heavily woke, though. Like, seriously, like, even, like, principled, like, Marxist, like, solidarity shit. And I've seen Marxists talk about sex workers, and obviously we've done a sex worker Marxism series in solidarity with our comrades, sex workers. So what she says he is actually, from what I remember, is actually pretty fucking woke.
To sell sex in order to eat, you know, in order to look after their children, and there's nothing sadder.
If you did, you would make loads. I'm not saying you never have to. But
well, thank you for the compliment.
Right.
I appreciate that, because I'm almost 40, so that's nice that, you know, I could possibly take to the streets if I needed to. But let me tell you honestly, how would you feel if you had to sell sex, your sex?
What if people pay me money for sex?
No, honestly, I mean, I know, like,
I would be there every day.
So cool.
I would
yeah,
do
right.
be late in the office.
That's the fucking masculinity in society that you see, this like fucking toxic masculinity, like, yeah, fuck bitches, make money, cash cash checks, snap necks. And then she's like, oh yeah, but come on, really, if you were like basically having to force you, to sell sex. Um, I mean, we hate serving at a counter and smiling and thanking people and doing all that shit, but if you've got to fucking suck dick and that and look like you're fucking enjoying it, it's a lot more fucking strenuous on your fucking soul. But at the same time, a lot of people like it, but it's not for everybody. There's some degree of choice within it, and the same degree of, am I gonna choose to be a wage slave? And for some people, that's not a choice. That's why we have the Lumpen proletariats, because these are either unemployables or unemployable because like they don't want to be employed because they're not submissive wage slaves.
Choice can only exist if there's a freedom to choose, and that doesn't exist within our society. And not just that as well, but it's like, I mean, like the way she deals with this is that the way he spoke, it's very easy and justifiable to just go mental at him, because he's basically, and he's purposefully doing it for the bit. He's taking what are very normalized norms within, especially British society,
Yes.
for people to behave and look at women, and he's exacerbating them, and rather like the thing that she knows, and plenty of comrades I've ever dealt with that have been feminists that have been on the streets, actually, like in the sticks and dealing with the things, not these internet tossers that fucking scream about like fucking knobends. These people that actually are doing the work, that actually do fucking risk their lives for women on the fucking on the daily, and they do what they need to do for their fucking their for women. They know that when they're dealing with someone, if they don't need to get aggressive, they don't have to, likely shouldn't, because if you can passively put an argument across, it don't matter if you convince them or not, because you convince people that you are an absolute rational agent, and it's very, very useful. Now, I'm not one of them pro-rationality guys. Like, if you want to get irrational, I all prefer that you do. I like to hear people shout and scream. But what you can do is you can abuse people. When you speak to them calmly, you lower their guard and you bring it into a more position of discussion where you can get their own contradictions to be organized against them. What she could have ended up doing there is with him, especially given the era and time that this was recorded in, which was still quite a homophobic time. She could have tried to put it on him on, considering that he's pulling out this hyper masculine perspective, she could have put it on him to be, why don't you be a homosexual prostitute? Well, that completely throws an entire spanner in his works on looking at the idea, because he's not even looked into the way homosexuality comes into sexism and homophobia and sexism and fuck, where was I going with this? No one looks into how like the fucking how bad the sex work market is until you actually put yourself into a position where you're doing something that you feel disgusted with. Like no one understands why women feel disgusted with these things, because we live in a male-centric world that puts it in that direction. So it's normalized for women to be at the bottom.
Hear me now. What I think is dead interesting out of what you just said was how she's accepting of what he said, and not she doesn't automatically turn offensive if she doesn't have to. Look at her now. Look at how sexy she is with a smile. Look at how happy she is. Yeah, gorgeous. Do you know what I'm saying? Because why? Because she hasn't got a frown. She's not evil. She doesn't want to fucking care. Like murder. She's literally about love and peace and solidarity. That's why I'm so attracted to her. Oh my god. So it's like, because she's like, yeah, I understand. Ha ha. Fucking fuck bitches, make money. Ha ha ha. She gets it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we're going to see a response as to, like, what would you say to somebody who's so egotistic and macho fucking weasel or whatever fucking word it is, like him.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 369.
I mean, would you call a woman a bitch? Would you say you're my bitch and expect her to feel really cared for and respected?
Well, with me Julia, I've got a girlfriend, and I do sometimes call her my bitch, but in the bedroom, whatever, that is, them words come out, and she ain't got a problem with it.
Okay. Gee, I'm kind of speechless.
I ain't calling her a bitch, I was calling her
my bitch. I'm sorry. Okay, my bitch. Okay, you know, I guess we're just really speaking at cross purposes because I'm so offended by this, I can't even tell you.
It's time to roll. I give a head start and make it first, even if I strode, unload, explode. Word up.
We's gonna
In the park there, blowing up swings, what was it? What was the fucking phrase before?
be talking
Never mind.
about the drug thing.
Now we on to drugs now. Obviously drugs are a serious problem. Drugs get so many people arrested, thrown into jail, into cages like goddamn slaves, like animals in the RSPCA. And just waiting for some rich person to come along that can free them any time. But of course these are pros, they just are born to take drugs in the form of escapism. Drugs are also flooded the streets through many black communities in the United States and probably through every motherfucking lumpen estate community ever. There's lots of drugs out there. Ali G on drugs with a pig.
Let's start from over here. I mean, that's Moroccan black, innit?
Yeah.
Have to be a double stick if you didn't know that. How much would this
Looks like a decent poly die.
cost you on the street?
Fucking hell, don't get me hyped up.
Aye, but you'd probably be getting ripped off if you had to pay that much. I mean, you can get it cheaper than that.
Okay.
So what is the names for it?
He isn't lying,
we all
folks.
know it's called the Bionic, the Bomb, the Puff, the Black, the Herb, the Sensi, the Chronic, the Sweet Mary Jane, the Shit, the Bomb, the Ganja, the Reefer,
The Chronic is the best one, I'm telling
the
you.
Ron, the Ill, the Maui Maui, the Method, the Pot, the
Mary Jane though.
the Stress, the Tide, the Wacky. But is there any other terms that parents should be aware of?
Puff, blow. Lots of names. Draw.
And what is its effects?
You can go paranoid, which means you think people or things are coming at you.
Aye.
It makes your heart race. Your blood pressure can go low, so you can feel a bit woozy sometimes. It's got a lot of medical effects on the body.
And is there any negative effects?
No, those are negative effects. But long term, there are negative effects.
So if you wanted to get started, would you recommend this as a good first smoke?
I wouldn't recommend it, no.
So far, this stuff is all legal.
I see.
No, it's not.
What, these things? No, but if you has got it in your home, then that is cool, isn't it?
No, it's all illegal. It's all against the law.
I gotta say, why does he think it's cool though? If it's in your home, he's like, what? He's like, what? It's like, nah, but if you have it in your home, at least it's sound, innit? And the busy's just like, no. And he's like, well, why has everybody got it in the home then? You know what I mean? Well, why is everybody smoking it then? If it's not that fucking cool, he's just like, what? Like, what fucking world, what reality are you living in, pig? You know what I'm saying? Because this is everywhere. Everywhere.
It's like 70-80% of like working class people, like actual, not this fucking like broad, like involve the middle class and mingle it around, like actual like working people, service working people. These people, 80% of them are on marijuana. Like people smoke pot like shitloads around here. It's so stupid that it's illegal.
Legalize it. We've done that fucking episode because it fucking means so much. Too many people are being thrown into jail for smoking a goddamn plant. This shit's insane. And Ali G is, again, this cultural appropriation of the Lumpen pole in the UK, confronted with a load of... Imagine me and you with that table in front of us, man. We would have a heavy one. We'd be killing it. We'd be like, get this stream on. Get fucking infrared on now. It'd be the heaviest thing ever, though. So, but that's it. I mean, it's normal. It's standard. Obviously, people like him and everybody else, the lawmakers who keep it illegal, like, lowers your blood pressure. You're gonna feel faint, you're gonna feel super paranoid. Motherfucker's never even smoked a fucking biff there, I bet. Yeah, he's probably smoked a fucking cigar and that's fucking it. You know what I'm saying? Fools.
Do you know what I find funny about the paranoid thing? So to be paranoid by it, that's long term use. Like you gotta be long term using it constantly to get the paranoid effect. Like certain weeds can make you paranoid, but that's like really weird. So certain weeds, and it's fucking miss or match, and it really depends on the person a lot of the time as well. So there's this idea now the paranoid psychosis side of it, that's something that actually only happens typically with people who have already got mental health issues that come from long-standing childhood mental health issues, or have genetic problems that cause mental health illnesses that are related to psychosis. So it only ever speeds up already happening psychosis. So as far as I'm concerned, they chat shit.
They
Like,
fucking know this.
Main problems you get off a bifter, you're gonna smoke a bifter, you're gonna feel a bit dehydrated, not just because of the smoke being smoke, but it actually does cause slight dehydration. Because of what it does, it's producing dopamine, and you need a lot of water for that. But it also causes a sugar drop, which is why munchies happens, because you get fucking a need for a sugar boost because your sugar levels are dropped, and you might feel a bit sick because of fucking, I don't know, like you accidentally didn't keep your sugars up and you didn't keep yourself hydrated. Those are the three things you got to worry about smoking weed. Is those two things, and then the fact that you actually forgot about those two things. And there has to be a third option, because this is marijuana and you are going to forget. Whitey. Oh, you're muted, like. Shibby, you're muted, like.
It for personal use or whatever,
Shibby, you're muted.
It's legal if you've got like half a kilo or something like that.
I would like to try that on.
All right. What if it's your religion?
What are you saying? I'm muted, yeah?
Yeah, you were muted, like.
Can you hear me?
I get you now.
Oh, fucking hell, I probably had my mic muted and talking like a fucking idiot. What am I like?
Then you have to convince the court it's your religion.
But let's say someone don't look like a Rasta, but they's got a couple of Bob Marley records and it's got one of those hats with dreads attached or whatever. Yeah. Do you think that would get them off in a court?
Don't think so.
All right. And which drugs is Class A?
Class A drugs are mainly the heroin and cocaine type of drugs.
Does Class A absolutely guarantee that there is better quality?
Fun drugs.
Nothing to do with quality. You can have total crap.
Okay. So what is the...
The music was furious, wasn't he?
Chemical name is 3,4-methylenedioxymethamphetamine, which is why a lot of people call it ecstasy.
Ain't the most
Did he just call that me? Methamphetamine?
Enjoy house music.
Yeah, you enjoy music. Yeah.
Is there a chemical inside it that actually make you dance like a bellend?
Yeah. It makes you dance.
What is that chemical called?
Well, it's the ecstasy. It's the actual chemical itself.
How many E's can you take in one night and still be safe if you ask to do it?
Some people can take 2 or 3 E's and no problems.
Because I has never ever taken any drugs, and you can test me piss. But I've got a mate called Dangerous Dave, and
it's like one thing I have a problem with this police officer geezer. So
he's telling them they can take like 2 3s, like a standard. Not in Liverpool, you can't. You'd be fucking writ off, mate.
You don't even know. He said ecstasy is methamphetamine. Ecstasy is methylene deoxymethamphetamine. It's related, sure, but it's not the same fucking thing. That's like saying pregabalin and gabapentin are the same thing, because they act on the same receptors and they have a similar chemical makeup. Go take the 2 different drugs and watch how they both feel different and they both fuck you up differently. It's not the way drugs work. Drugs can be very, very closely related and they're different. By calling it methamphetamine, he's linking it to crystal meth. It's much worse than that. Crystal meth is nowhere near as great to be on and is fucking nowhere near as easy to keep taking. We don't have that accessibility to crystal meth here either.
Fucking go off your tits on that fucking knees, mate, let me tell you.
I ain't gonna say his family name.
I fucking love them. I was addicted to them.
He said that he has taken 22 E's in one night.
Did he have a headache? Did he feel...
Well, he said he was like, you know... He found
my mate Craig used to claim this.
He used to claim he'd take 22 E's in one night. Oh, fuck off. Nobody's even taken more than 3 of these going around nowadays. You'd literally be dead.
Nah, mate, like, so my mate was claiming it back in the 80s. So he was back, because he's like 40 now, but he was saying that like back in the 80s, him and his brother used to pop like 20, 30 pills. And maybe I could believe that back when it was straight MDMA, but today these pills aren't just MDMA, they're bashed with all sorts. And then you've got speed, ketamine, and all those other great drugs being mixed into it to make it even more fun. I used to take it on a regular, and I used to take it because it helped with my disability. It basically fucking cured my problems. I could go about like a free agent. So I fucking used to pop like 4 to 6, maybe 8 ecstasy pills a day, and that's when you push it. You get to that 8 point with these modern day pills, and you are coughing up blood, even if you haven't fucked your entire fucking body up. Which, I mean, if you haven't, you.
But I think we're getting to a good synthesis here, because what we're talking about is a society that bans drugs. Where drugs are literally on the streets. We've done these drugs. Those drugs are out there, easy to access. So why does society not just decriminalise it and offer support and education about it? It's a deep fucking question. It's something that we need to push for, the decriminalisation of drugs, because they're gonna be out there whether you like it or not. But if you've got fucking busies that don't even know how much is dangerous to take, then it's up to us to find out. And how do we find out? We find out by finding out too late. That's the problem.
Before we continue watching real quickly, is that another problem that we need to combat, and I want people to combat massively, is not just within the parties in the way that they're very horrible to people who have drug problems. Not all the time. It's just a thing that can happen. There's prejudice and behaviors like that. But Marxists that are anti-drug are a problem. Don't look at it as, oh, well, some people don't like dealing with drugs. No, you're a problem. You cannot help the lumpen if you are anti-drug, because you're never going to be able to understand.
Indeed. Let's get on to this. I mean, we're getting to pretty some good synthesizations of analysis from goddamn Ali G.
It was really buzzing, and actually the people on the Egham to Ruislip bus said that he...
Let's just reinforce, it's not just Ali G, it's the cultural appropriation and representation of Ali G as a lumpen pole culture in Britain.
Drove it better than he ever done. So do you think it can actually help him?
It wouldn't help you to drive a bus.
Do you think it's ever right to give animals an E?
Well, if you want to know more about a substance, I'd rather you gave it to a rabbit or a rat rather than taking it yourself and testing it on yourself.
For real, what if they look sad? Do you think it's right to give your animal an E then?
I don't think it would help.
Because my mate Jezzy F once fed one to his dog, and it went mental and started barking and then tried to bone the cat. Is that kind of thing possible?
It's quite possible, yeah. Don't forget, one tablet is a lot for a dog.
For real. Which is the type of acid that actually make you fly?
No acid makes you fly.
But
acid can make you think you fly.
But ain't there one, because my mate Dave said he took this type and he flew all around the room, and then his mum told him to get some ciggies from the shop, and he actually flew there down there in the buses, and flew back, and was back in like 5 seconds or whatever, but he'd forgotten to buy the ciggies.
Well, that's the answer, isn't it? You think things are happening to you. You may think you can fly, but your feet are still on the ground. They never leave the ground. And if you're not careful, you might trip up and hurt yourself.
So, with the whole thing here, what is the lesson, the real lesson that people out there need to know?
Substances, chemicals, drugs affect the way your body works.
For real.
Your body
feed them to your cats.
Beautifully constructed.
Thank you.
It works very, very well. If you take any of these things, you run a big risk of making it work not so well.
Respect to the Ben. The environment has always been
well important. I think I'd like to add on to that is that, like, it sort of shows to the perspective of the British establishment that their reaction is that, well, you want to understand the effects of this rather than us giving you an education. don't take the drugs yourself, drug your cat. And he's actually speaking to a police officer there, and that police officer's got a safe face for something and this fucking thing. So that probably is the actual perspective on this. They actually think that, you know, well, I'd rather you drug your cat or your hamster or anything like that. It's like, well, I don't think that it's on the same level of abuse as it is to humans, because we're so much more sentient. But it's not even a right answer. It's not a wrong answer. It's a fucking stupid answer. Like, my man's answer should be, we need more education on drugs, or we need to decriminalize drugs so people aren't being fucking persecuted left, right, and fucking center.
And the reason why that is because we can't speak to dogs or cats. So how could we ask them how the fuck they feel about it and could draw any proper conclusion from it?
In fact, you're enjoying your ecstasy, Buster. How's your ecstasy going, Buster? You're gonna share some of those pills, lad.
It's very recycle bins that me first managed to born me Julie. So that is why I decided to do me bit to help out the tree protesters at Crystal Palace, West Side. Everybody is talking about the environment thing. What is they banging on about? I don't know. That is why it's come down to the tree protesting site to solve the problem of the environment. And maybe to mash up some police. Ali's environment. We're here at the HQ of the tree people. Gonna go in, help them out. For them people out there, what is they actually doing? Why is they here?
Because there's so little space, from what I can gather, there's so little space left in London, and they want to put a multi-story cinema complex and a rooftop car park for 1,000 cars.
But is it going to be one of them new cinemas with all the air conditioning and the Dolby surround?
Well, I don't know. It will be a modern structure of some sort, but do we...
The day is wicked, no? Should they not build this one and knock down the crap ones and then build trees there?
So what we're going to see here is like Ali G basically attending a protest, and I think, whoa! So what we're going to get is like Ali G turning up at a protest, and then we're going to see, because he's so good at like acting, how good the general Lumpen pro feels about these activists, what he thinks of these activists, and you know, despite how good and positive the things that they're protesting is, what the average fucking Lumpen pro thinks of this. So we'll get into it.
Tree, me meet the tree. Me meet the police, me meet the police. We're now gonna meet the main copper, the guy who's sorting it all out. If it comes to Iraq, who do you think is gonna win?
It isn't going to come to Iraq.
But if it does?
No, it's not going to come to Iraq. This is being dealt with as peacefully as possible.
Is it possible for us to get in?
Not at this stage, because it's still dangerous.
Is it because I'm black?
Not at all.
Do you not think it's time for them protesters to start looking after themselves and protecting themselves properly?
Get on this, it sounds like he's going for like Ali G's just trying to go for like accelerationism versus like a modern day Marxist.
Win.
It isn't going to come to Iraq.
But if it does?
No, it's not going to come to Iraq. This is being dealt with as peacefully as possible.
Is it possible for us to get in?
Not at this stage, because it's still dangerous.
Is it because I'm black?
Not at all.
Do you not think it's time for them protesters to start looking after themselves and protecting themselves properly?
Well, violence doesn't solve anything, does it? You know?
Well, I don't know what it does.
It does. It doesn't.
Yeah, but it mainly does.
Not really.
Come on.
You can't conquer nothing with violence, can you?
Well, you can.
In what? In what situation?
Well, in a violent one.
You one of the fairy folks.
Shibby, you muted.
Oh yeah, I'm talking to me goddamn muted microphone again. So before we get on to, you know, that goddamn foolery we've just seen, but we're also going to get on to this view on violence, and this protester, as we see in many Marxists today, is like, you know, violence isn't going to solve anything. Ali G's like, well, it will though, you know, when are you going to start protecting yourself, basically saying you're pussy. And he's like, well, it doesn't solve anything though, does it, violence? And he's like, well, it does though.
Come on.
You can't conquer nothing with violence, can you?
Well, you can.
In what situation?
In what situation? In what situation is violence a positive?
Well, in a violent one.
Violence is the means to reach that positive, but it's like the police officer at the point at the start when he says, we are trying to deal with this as peacefully as we possibly can. That is the police officer's way of saying, we are here to prepare to beat people into the fucking ground if they dare do anything that might seem slightly...
There's enough of us here in order to force them to stay in their position. We're oppressing them in their position. We're securing this territory. And this other motherfucker's like, well, you know, peace and, you know, peace, love, solidarity, you know, don't ever have violence. You know, violence is never good. And even Ali G's just come out on the spot like, well, no, violence is actually solves problems when in a violent one. It's like you're being oppressed by plod right now. That's why they're all there. They're fucking up your trees to build a fucking supermarket. You're protesting to stop them from being there and to fuck up the trees. And then what are you doing? This dickhead is a representation of so many fucking Marxists today. I want to slap him, you know. Looking at his face now, I'd love to fucking smack him. And this is how cringe the fucking leftists out there today as a majority. And we got these motherfuckers, instead of Ali G saying, well, you know, violence solves problems against violence when we're constantly fucking oppressed individuals. We're all in a class such a society, not because we consent to it entirely, but because the cohesion has led to a consent, and that cohesion is a matter of force and power being used against our lack of power and our ability to defend ourselves and our positions against this fucking oppression. And then you've got him, who everybody's going to defend like, oh no, he's a good guy, let's get behind this motherfucker, look at this dickhead. And look at Ali G, give him the same look that I'd give him, and all the Lumpen posts that we need to actually fight for revolution look back at him like, what is wrong with you? What?
Like look at this as well. Like Ali G, a lot of the time, and I think it probably might have been intended to be all the time or outright a parody. But it's a thing, you can only parody so much because you've got to look at some of that already exists. And this is one of those moments where you see Ali G break into the way Lumpen people see this shit. It's like there's all these people protesting. When we see a big protest, we see it as nothing because it ain't violent, it ain't doing anything. It's just a bunch of fucking poncy middle class.
If you try to set a fire, set a fire can on fire, a fire can, what is wrong with me? Like a fucking bin. Oh my god, I wish I could delete that. I'm so ashamed of myself. Oh my god, what is going on with me? It's speaking to too many goddamn Yanks. So like if we tried to set a bin on fire in protest, at a protest, you'd have dickheads like him in the SWATs of us coming up saying, what are you doing? You're fucking gonna get police after us, we're gonna get fucking arrested and that. But setting that bin on fire could literally bring national attention to your struggle, to their struggle, by setting a fucking anything on fire around them. The newspapers up and down the country would say, oh, you know, this fire broke out at this protest, because that's rebellion shit, and the ruling class parties look at that shit seriously. It's serious rebellion. And said you've got him singing fucking happy little songs, let's all hold hands, without being willing to either lift your fucking look at his face.
Mate, you can't even go out camping because of people like this, because it's not even like it's just that. You can't even go out camping and light a fire in the woods with a tent up or chill like that without people fucking going all poncy and middle class on you and reporting you to the police.
Oh my god, yeah, exactly.
It's an actual protest, you're actually going to do something, you're bringing even more attention to them. They are the Fed callers of anything, so for them to be down there protesting against them, it's like when you see fucking two countries that have been like pretending to be against each other and then both fucking up another country at the same time, and then they both meet at like some sort of like disagreement about things, but you know actually really they're never going to do anything with each other. They're just going to fucking stand there and scream a bit and then fuck off back to being useful.
I've got to play the video, can't leave it on the fucking stream, everybody looking at his fucking mug like that. Can't be leaving it like that. So, but you know what's true is I don't even think Ali G is literally acting with his reaction to this dickhead. Instead of protesting, instead of burning shit, instead of showing his anger, his fury, his disgust at the state oppressing both the people of this community, and it's ploughing right through them in the sake of capitalist investment and even further exploitation, and probably fucking some kind of fucking genericization with a fucking, you know, whatever they were building, some kind of apartments. Ali G's not even acting here. This is Sacha Baron Cohen, just real, like, mask off.
What is going on?
This is how I see most of the left.
Class in general, man.
Alright, me has heard both sides of the argument. Me don't understand either of them, but me is well up for a rock anyway.
Gang shit. But that's the thing. Is it going to be the ruling class? Is it going to be the fascist who's going to get him to rock? Or is it going to be us Marxists? Revolutionary Lumpen Radio, motherfuckers. That's what we're about.
Turn even more fascist when we do start to rock them.
Talk about the revolutionary potential of the lumpen proletariat. Come on, hurry up. All of us can outnumber them, there's more of us than them. And instead, Ali G's being pushed back. You know what I'm saying? He can do more than them as a laugh. That's how inadequate every single one of them protesters were, and that's how I see the left today, inadequate.
We don't sell anything.
Scared.
What's funny is that everyone must be thinking that I'm like in a different like fucking reality or something, because I'm slightly out of time in my reactions because I'm watching it on the stream and it's looking funny for me.
I think we're getting on to a last Ali G moment, or the second to last, before we move on with the rest of the show. I'm just going to go to the loop.
Wouldn't it be more better to use dogs?
Right, well, dog's just a slang term for the canine.
But you use mainly dogs, or does you use mainly canines?
In the United States, canine and dog, it's kind of a interchangeable word.
All right, for real.
Okay. Most of the dogs we get are black in color. We do get some yellows, and rarely we get some chocolate colored ones too.
Ain't that a bit racialist, getting mainly black dogs to do this?
Oh, not at all. That's just a part of the Labrador Retriever breeding.
He's fucking got them now, folks.
The black dogs are predominant.
But ain't it a bit racialist saying, all right, this is dangerous work, let's get the brothers in to go and find the bombs?
That has nothing to do with that.
Why does you choose dogs to decide where bombs is? Why don't you choose a more intelligent animal like a dolphin?
And again, that'd be quite difficult to have a fish tank on a cart.
But I don't know if you know this, but dolphins ain't fish.
Right.
They is like us. There's memories.
Correct, but they have to get back to a water source every now and again, and there's
they is memories.
The extent of work you'd have to go into versus a dog. And then again, I don't know how good their sense of smell is compared to a dog.
Right.
Dogs are proven, they've been used for a lot of years because of their phenomenal sense of smell.
So why does they stick their noses so close to each other's body?
To pull away.
Dogs, they give out different scents. They let the other dogs know what's going on. That's why they're constantly smelling each other.
Of course.
Let me ask you, can anybody actually be this dumb without having some kind of disability? Like, can you be completely able and still be this ignorant? Or what? And if not, then what does that say about the people who believe this kind of ignorance?
I will say unto this is like I mean, I dealt with 1,000,001 people being lumpen myself and spoken to all sorts of varieties of like intellectual capacity, and even the people who will sound like this, like, because people will be able to be like, no, I've heard people who sound like this when they speak. it's more than that. Like it's the way that he's putting down quite fairly intelligent concepts and then spinning them around into shit. Like, so it's going to show the way people are. Like, people can speak in this slangish of a term and speak with intellectual concepts, but if they sound somewhat dumb, or he actually is speaking dumb shit, but the whole purpose is that someone, if they sound like this, they just, the way middle class people fucking write it up is they see what he's speaking like as the way fucking sorry, the words he are using is what people hear when they hear anyone speaking with slang, like British lower class slang. They just think that they're all fucking jackass idiots that don't know shit, even though they know more than fucking these types do about fucking banging along.
Nah, I'm with you. We just got a couple of fucking messages here. Who's the Cynthia Farmer? I don't know. Moving on.
I once smelt a dog's arse and it was horrible. Why does they do it?
Different perception, though. Something that's unpleasant to you isn't unpleasant to them.
Has you ever smelt a dog's arse?
Can't say I have. This is Dabby.
What?
This is Dabby. And this is John.
Hello.
John.
Dabby?
We'll script this. We'll watch one final Ali G moment because I think it's dead fun. I think that this would be sick to actually upload to YouTube and actually get some viewers, liberals, who look at Ali G reactions. So we'll look at.
For Will, where does you get the dogs from?
Ali in the field, Ali in the field. Aye, give me a chicken, give me a chicken. Hear me now.
Easy enough.
Good day.
Safe. What be your name?
I'm Dr. George Washington.
What?
Dr. George Washington.
All right.
What?
Wicked. So does vets mainly look after sick animals?
No, we do a lot of preventive medicine, reproductive work, and everything.
Why was there so many sick animals in Vietnam?
There wasn't that many sick animals in Vietnam.
But weren't there like millions of Vietnam vets?
You're confusing terminology here. Okay, a veterinarian is a doctor of veterinary medicine. He's a person that treats animals.
For Will. So, I was getting it. So, loads of people went to Vietnam and then treated animals there.
No. You're confusing the term.
All right.
I'm a veteran, but I'm also a veterinarian because I served time as a veterinarian in the military.
What I think's so funny that I don't think that people truly grasp is like over here we don't have like this fetishization with like veterans in the military as it appears that they do in the United States. Everybody's like, you know, I'm a vet, or like, you know, you see vets on the telly, you know, this slang that makes them seem fucking cool or something for being fucking baby murderers. You know, so for Ali G to be like, you know, what's a vet? It kind of makes funny when he's an American, and it's like a kind of change on the terminology between, you know, US and UK terminology.
And as well that with the UK, so it's because that we have this position where we put faith more in people who are in active service than post-service, because a lot of post-military people have, not only, if you look at after World War II, been very pro left wing, and a lot of them ended up being communists and were involved in forcing the implementation of the NHS because it was the military that put that in. You know.
Yeah, very few vets in the UK are actually proud to be vets. I think, unlike in the UK, they're trained before they leave and after they leave to be proud of being vets, to obviously perpetuate imperialism and to encourage recruitment.
Yeah, we have it centered around like you can't criticize the actual active military. That's no go.
For Will. So why do so many of those people from the military then later on in life want to start working with animals?
They don't. They can do anything they want to. There's no relation between a veteran of the military and a veterinarian.
Respect. And you is?
I'm both.
Oh man, that's so confusing. I don't understand it. So to make this clear to young people out there, people who fights in wars is called veterinarians.
No.
People who
are called veterans.
whatever, veterans, people who does the animal thing is called veterans.
No, veterinarians.
Veterinarians. Respect.
V-E-T-E-R-I-N-A-R. It's veterinarians.
When you was a kid, did you know that you wanted to grow up and be a veteran?
Well, you're still confusing. Just forget the word veteran.
Lost hope in this motherfucker.
How often is animals actually sick, and how often is they faking it
Fucking
just so them
dug
to
a
get a
deep
day
hole.
off work?
Animals aren't faking it to get a day off work.
But what does you do if there's like a knock on your door and there's like a goat out there, whatever, and he says he's got flu, but you know he's lying? Does you tell the farmer?
The goat doesn't talk to us. It's the farmer that talks to us.
So is there a lot of sex diseases with animals?
There are a few, but not many that's transmitted.
Offensiveness
Is that
towards
because
goats, yeah.
most animals wear connies?
No.
So is you saying that the man cows just whip it out and jizz over their Babylons, or what?
No.
Broken.
So how does they stop getting them preggers? So is there any animals that ain't been discovered yet?
There could be. They've just found some in some of the jungles, different places that they didn't know exist.
Has you got any photos of the ones that ain't been discovered?
No.
All right, what about a video or something like...
Well, if you had a video, they'd have been discovered.
All right, not if they videoed themselves.
They aren't smart enough to operate a video. You aren't going to see that chicken there taking a video around.
All right.
He doesn't have enough, his brain is not developed enough.
Yo,
for that.
man, him can hear you saying that. Don't cuss him.
I'm not cussing him. I say he doesn't, his brain is not developed enough.
He's like just there. He's going to hear you say that and be like well upset, innit?
No, he's not.
Look at that!
That's why she wanted it.
Oi,
like this.
Look at that fucking thing. What's that?
That's a chicken.
What? That thing?
It's a chicken.
What?
Is that a real animal?
That's a chicken.
Check it out. Has you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah.
Look at it.
You what,
He's got feathers on his feet.
How come he was wearing that?
That's the way Mother Nature, that's the way his genes are. He was born.
I mean, it's so funny because it's so sad that another human being is believing that another human being is that ignorant to the most basic shit in the world. And this is really like bourgeois morality, really, in a sense, looking at a lower class of society, people who were brought up on council estates and didn't get much education, as if to say for the rest of their life they're incapable of educating themselves. Not only incapable of educating themselves, but for the rest of their life they find no purpose in the reason of why or want to educate themselves better, to be smarter. What's funny is I don't think that there's a single person as Sacha Baron Cohen has actually interviewed that isn't as smart as him. I'm pretty sure he went to like fucking Cambridge University or like Oxford University. He's an extremely intelligent, smart person, and it's look at his kecks, his pants for those Americans. Look at his pants. Look at his
fucking like, it's this mentality around fucking treating people who are chavvy and all that like they're shit. But then if any of them because a lot of us who are in the Lumpen, like we have this mixed way of speaking that chops up all these different ways. And if you sound anything the slightest smart and anything like that, they don't then treat you like they'll either still try and treat you like a dickhead and use all the stereotypes against you, especially considering we all use slang and we all speak with that very fucking as I like to call it, chav speak. We speak like that. We say blood and things and all that, you know. But the fucking these people, as soon as you speak in something that sounds vaguely like their language, and they can't disregard you as that, rather than respecting you for it in some like actual like responsible way that goes to show that they're actually like somehow some sort of honest actor, they'll treat you like you're one of them. Like they'll not one of them. Like you're the like one of the good ones is what I meant to put it. Like they'll treat you like you're one of the good ones. You're not one of them bad Lumpen people, eh? You're kind of like us. You're muted, Shibby.
Fucking mute button. Yeah, just to really fundamentally underline what we're talking about here, because we're drawn towards the end of this Ali G section and moving on with the rest of the show now, is the fact that this is funny. We can laugh at it because it's funny that another human being is looking at another human being and then looking down at them so much to believe that that's fucking stupid to not know what a fucking chicken is. Especially when he grew up in England and he's got a fucking roast dinner. This is insane, people. That's why it's funny, because we're laughing at not the stupid person that is Ali G, but the stupid person who is the veteran veterinarian for believing that Ali G is that stupid. That's what's funny. That's what's funny about fucking Paul Moran. That's what's funny about Black Vorge. That's what's funny about fucking Has Been and Red Fight Back. They themselves are believing that we're stupid. We have nothing to teach them when they are the ones who have a lot to fucking learn about us. Because in the same way, regardless of what Sacha Baron Cohen is wearing, his stupid fucking hat, his gimpy glasses, his ridiculous fucking kecks and his dumbass fucking chain from cultural appropriation, what is inside his fucking brain through his life experiences, you cannot measure by fucking appearance. So when you judge us by appearance, when you judge us by our experience rather than our fucking mentality, then you yourselves are the fucking jokes. And that's what this is about, people. That's what this segment is about, is to show that the joke is not the person who can laugh at the fucking culture, but the jokes are the people who believe that the cultural appropriation is the real thing. We're talking about the spectacle, we're talking about society, we're talking about cultural hegemony. Shame on you if you believe in any of these things. These are bourgeois bullshit, and the nothing's real but physics, society, history, and history will teach us fucking all of these freedoms. Capitalism's bullshit. You're a fucking capitalist if you believe that Ali G is such a fucking joke. The joke every single time is the people he forces us to laugh at for believing in his stereotype.
The thing is, like, we're not just coming at this from a Marxist perspective, it's even more than that. Like, we're coming at this from a Lumpen perspective, like, because Ali G is memeing on our community, like, he's turning it into a gimmick, like, to point a point across. And that point is a very important point that gets completely lost, because he's having to utilize spectacle to put a point across. And when you utilize spectacle, it only creates itself into a bigger spectacle. So what we're trying to do is look at this and bring it into the realms of reality, so it's within our confines of society, not within this spectacleization of it, where people will just treat it from the responses we've been having about Ali G for the last 30 years.
Jack on fucking, I never seen a chicken like that, to be honest. To be honest, that was a fucking remarkable chicken. Like, that was fucking the most, like, that could flaunt. Shake your tail feathers.
That was well, actually it was a male chicken, so that was actually one nice looking cock, if you want to put it like that.
There you go, we looking at cocks and, nobody can stop us. Okay, so let's finish off on this and let's go into the start of the show.
Oh, where is, like, the tigers?
This is not a zoo. This is a farm. This is like, this is more like a farm you have seen probably when I was a kid.
What about a hippopotamus?
Hippopotamus, there, you go to the National Zoo and you can see them.
What, you ain't got them here either?
No, this is not a zoo, this is a farm. You know what a farm is?
Well, it's like a rubbish zoo, obviously.
Okay, I hope you learned something about animals.
Yo, we learned a lot about animals.
You have a lot to learn.
Keep it real.
You have a lot to learn, he taught him. And he believed it, and he's devastated. But he doesn't realise he's the joke. Wicked, wicked, wicked. Booyakasha.